So this is the last year we have before Yom Kippur. And it's actually the last year we have this man. And what is more important before Yom Kippur than to discuss the mitzvah of Teshuvah? Is Teshuvah a chiyuv or is it a privilege? Kodesh Baruch Hu gave us a gift. You know, in one moment you could fix what you broke an entire lifetime, but it's an optional. It's not a chiyuv. So in Parshas Nitzavim, ושבתו עד השם אלוקיך ושמעתו בקולוי ככל אשר אנוכי מצווך היום. The Ramban on the spot, ותם ושבתו עד השם אלוקיך ושמעתו בקולוי שתושב אל השם בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ותקבל הולך ועל בניך לדורות to be מקיים all the mitzvahs. And the Ramban writes, it's a mitzvah. And according to the Ramban, this is the source of the mitzvahs asay to do Teshuvah. And a few psukim after that, ki ha-mitzvah zois asher anechi mitzavcho hayoim lo nifleisi mimcho. And the Ramban offers two different pshotim. Ta'am ki ha-mitzvah zois al kol ha-Torah kolo. Va'anochoin ki al kol ha-Torah yomer, kol ha-mitzvah asher anechi mitzavcho hayoim. When the Torah speaks about all the mitzvahs, the Pasuk says, kol ha-mitzvah. אבל המצווה הזויס על התשובה הנסקרס. כי והשבויסו אל לבבך ושבתו עד השם אלוקיך, מצווה שיצווה איסנו לעשויס כן. ונאמרו בלושן בינוני, לרמוז בהבטחה, כי עושד הדבר להיוס כן. So the Ramban explains, ושבתו עד השם אלוקיך, has two different interpretations. It's a mitzvah, a command, v'shavtu ad Hashem Elokecho. But it also is a story, a nevuah. This will transpire at the end of days. This will happen. We will all come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'shav Hashem Elokecho es shavuscha. So according to the Ramban, V'shavtu ad Hashem Elokecho was the source of the mitzvah of Teshuvah. Sefer Mitzvahs Koton. I'll be presently surprised if anybody knows who wrote the Sefer Mitzvahs Koton. One of the Balei Tosfos, Rabbi Yitzchok Mikorbel. Lo shuf, dechsev V'shavtu ad Hashem Elokecho v'shamato b'koiloi. ואומרו חכמים שוב יום אחד לפני מיססך, שמא ימות מחר. So, according to the Smak, this is a mitzvah's asay. The same Shari Teshuvah. Very first Shar, very first Seif. Thank you. מן הטויבס אשר היטב השם יסבורך עם ברוב, היכל להם הדרך לעשוס מתוך פחס מסיים, ולונוס מפח פשעיהם, לחסוך נפשם מנישחס ולהושב מעליהם אפו, ולמדם והזהירם לא שוב אלוב כי יחטאו לו. And טוב יושר השם, על כן יורך התום בדרך. שובה לאשר המיקו, שובה בונים שבבים. והוא הזהרנו על התשובה בכמה מקומות בתורה. And one of the sources he brings, our posuk, בצער לך ומצאוך את כל הדברים האלה, ושבתו עד השם אלוקיך ושמעתו בקולוי. So the Ramban, Shari Teshuvah, the Smak, all say, Teshuvah is a mitzvah to say. Where is it written in the Torah? Parshas Nitzavim, v'shavtu ad Hashem elokecha. The Rambam seems to have a different opinion. Sefer HaMitzvahs. So these letters are very small, and there are a lot of Manamakaimis. It'll take us a week to go through all of them. Rambam mitzvah say Ayin Gimel, שציוונו להסוודו יסלח התואם והבוינה שחתונה לפני אוכל יסלח ולא ימרו יסום עם התשובו. The Rambam doesn't say that Teshuvah is a mitzvah, but rather vidui is a mitzvah. Same thing in the very first halacha. כל המצווה שבתורה בין עשה בין לא תעשה, אם עובר עוד המלאכס מהן, בין בזון, בין בשגוגי, כשיעשה תשובה ויושב מחטאי, חייב להתוודות. לפני אוכל ברוך הוא שנאמר, והזוודו אס חטאסם. זה וידוי דבורים. וידוי זה מצווה עשה. So the Rambam clearly seems to say, there is no mitzvah to do teshuvah. If you do teshuvah, you have a mitzvah to say vidui. The mitzvah is vidui and not teshuvah. And maybe the Rambam goes l'shitosoi. Rambam Hilchas Teshuvah Perek Zayin Halacha Hey. Kol hanavim kulam tzivu al teshuvah, ve'ein yisur negolan ela b'teshuvah, ve'kvar hevtichu Torah, שסוף יסור לעשות תשובה בסוף גלותן, ומיד הם נגולם שנאמר, והיו כי יבוא אליך כל הדבורים, ושבתו עד השם אלוקיך. So the Rambam clearly interprets the pasuk v'shavto not as a mitzvah, but rather as a prophecy, a nevuah. This will happen. כבר הבטיחו תורה שסוף יסור לעשות תשובה, ומיד הם נגולם. So the Rambam's pshat is not that it's a mitzvah, but rather a nevuah, a promise. So if you saw lasa tshuva miyadam negolin, and therefore the Rambam cannot maintain that tshuva is a mitzvah. The mitzvah is rather vidui. And this brings us to turn the page. And the Minchas Chinuch, one source before the last one. בדברי הרמב"ם משמע, שכוסף כאן בתחילת פרק א', אם עובר הלכות חייב לסוודס כשיעשה תשובה. מבוא בדבוריו, דאין התשובה מצווה עשה. זה לא כוסף מצווה עשה שיעשה תשובה, רק הם בו. לעשות מצווה עשה, שיסוודה בפיו. וכן נראה מלושן עליו המחבר. אם כן, אם לא יעשה תשובה, אין לו יענש כלל. על מה שלא יעשה תשובה, רק על עובד תשובה. ועושה תשובה ולא יסוודה, אין לו יענש על הווידוי, מכל שכן, אם לא יעשה תשובה, אין לו יענש. מה יכבס ביוסף ולא יסוודה בפה? אם כן, אין המצווה מחייבת כלל. But that is not mistaba, because the Rambam does say that vidui is a mitzvah's asay. So according to the Minchas Chinuch, there is no mitzvah to do teshuvah, because the Rambam doesn't write that teshuvah is a mitzvah. If he did teshuvah and he didn't say vidui, would that be an aveira? The Rambam clearly says chayev lesvadois. But the Minchas Chinuch argues it's totally unreasonable that if a person didn't do teshuvah at all, he doesn't have an aveira. If he did teshuvah and he didn't do vidui, he does have an aveira. And therefore, the maskon of the Minchas Chinuch is, vidui is also not a mitzvah to say. It is somewhat similar to the mitzvah of gerushin. A person doesn't have a chiyuv to divorce his wife. Well, some tzaddikim never were mekayim the mitzvah of a kosav l'sefer krisis. The mitzvah rather is, if the circumstances are such that a person wants to part with his wife, then the way to do it is al yedei gerushin. The way to do teshuvah is al yedei vidui. And I wonder how the Minchas Chinuch wasn't aware of the Rambam in Protei HaMitzvahs, which brings us back to page 1, first page. Prote HaMitzvahs. I think it's the eighth source. And Prote HaMitzvahs was written by the Rambam. Hilchas Teshuvah, Mitzvahs say achas, v'hu sheyoshev hachoyte mechetoi lefnei Hashem v'yezvado. So the Rambam clearly defines the mitzvah. Sheyoshev hachoyte mechetoi lefnei Hashem v'yezvado. Of course, Teshuvah is a mitzvah. Goes without saying. Everybody agrees that Teshuvah is not only a mitzvah, it's a chiyuv. And the Rambam clearly says, Sheyoshev hachoyte mechetoi lefnei Hashem v'yezvado. The entire machlokes between Rambam and Ramban is, what is the source of mitzvahs at Teshuvah? Is it v'shavtu ad Hashem elokecho? Or is it v'hisvadu es chatosom? But vidui is a chiyuv. And the Gemara says, and the Rambam quotes the Gemara in Perek Gimel, if a person says vidui without Teshuvah, hareu ketoivel v'sheretz biyodoi, and this vidui is totally meaningless. It means nothing. So vidui is a mitzvah. And what is the mitzvah? Lehizvadois metoich Teshuvah. וכדברי הרמב"ם בפרוטי המצווס, שיושב החויטה מחטו לפני השם ויזבד. So vidui means tshuva. Vidui is not just saying words. Vidui is you need to verbalize and vocalize that you're doing tshuva. You need to say that, and not only in your heart. Everybody agrees that Teshuvah is a chiyuv. The machlokes Rambam and Ramban is, what is the source of the chiyuv? Is it v'hisvadu or v'shavto ad Hashem elokecho? Is there an afkamin and a halacha between the Rambam and the Ramban? I think there is. In the very first halacha in Hilchas Teshuvah, the Rambam writes that if a person does Teshuvah and he didn't say vidui, the Teshuvah won't help. And he is not zoicha lekapora. I think that is only in accordance to the Rambam. If the source of the mitzvah of Teshuvah is ve'ezvadu, then if you didn't say vidui, you weren't mekayim the mitzvah. And the Teshuvah is void. But according to the Ramban, that the mitzvah of Teshuvah is v'shavto ad Hashem elokecho, mehechetese, to say that vidui is ma'akev. Vidui is only a lechatchila, but your Teshuvah is neskabel even without vidui. The Rambam l'shitosoi, that the source of mitzvah Teshuvah is v'hizvadu, so without vidui you weren't mekayim the mitzvah of Teshuvah. And that would be the nafka min al-halacha between the Rambam and the Ramban. So many ask a kasha on the Rambam. Talmud Bavli Mesechet Kedushin Mem Tes Omud Beis, on the first page. Al-Menas Shani Tzadek, HaMekadesh Yesuishu Al-Menas Shani Tzadek, Afilo Rosh HaGomor, Mikudeshes. And why is that? Shemu Hirer Tshuva Bedatoi. So the Gemara clearly says, Hirer Tshuva Beliboi transforms you from a Rosh HaGomer to a Tzaddik. But according to the Rambam, he didn't say vidui. Adam could never know what a person has in his mind or in his heart. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a boichin kaloyes v'leiv. But if vidui is ma'akev, the Adam could testify, he didn't say vidui. So what would the halacha be? A chassan on his way to the chuppah says, I'm hungry, goes into a treif restaurant, he buys a sandwich of pork, and he eats it on the way to the chuppah. He says, I'm very hungry because a chassan b'yom cheposa needs to fast. I fasted all day. and then he buys a trefa sandwich. He eats it on the way to the chuppah. He's almost there. The Edom are standing under the chuppah, and he finishes the sandwich, and he takes out a ring. Areit mikudeshes libet bazu kadas Moshe v'Yisrael. Ha'im chosheshim likidushav. Shemahira tshuva b'datoi. But the Edom say he finished the sandwich, and he said nothing besides Areit mikudeshes li. He didn't say any vidui. So according to the Rambam, lama chosheshin lekidushav. Without vidui, your tshuva means nothing. So in my opinion, according to the Ramban, we can understand the Gemara. Maybe he did tshuva as he was standing, he finished the sandwich. What could you know? You cannot know what's in a person's heart. But if vidui is ma'akev, the Edom could say, he didn't say vidui. And this question is intensified if we turn the page and we learn in Masechet Yoma, towards the end of the Masechta. Second source. Shor Masya ben Cheresh, Esther Beloza ben Azaria Baromi. Shomatu arbo chaluke kapora shahoy Rabbi Shmuel Dorish. Shloishu hen, tshuvim kol echod v'yachod. Over al Mitzvah say v'shav, v'inezaz misham at shemoichel aloi. Over al lo ta'aseh v'yoseh tshuva toile v'yoyim ha'kippurei mechaper. Without Yom Kippur, you have no kapora. So why chosheshin likidushav? He will have no kapora till Yom Kippur comes along. So he can't be a tzaddik gomer. He will only have kapora after Yom Kippur. So why chosheshin likidushav? My answer is this. We are approaching Yom Kippur. Ki b'yoyim hazeh yachaper aleichem. L'tayr eschem ekol chatoseichem lefnei Hashem. Titahoru. This pasuk has two different interpretations. Lefi pshuto shel mikra, the way to read this pasuk is, Ki b'yoyim hazeh yachaper aleichem, l'tayr eschem ekol chatoseichem lefnei Hashem. Titahoru. Titahoru is a tzivui. The other interpretation we find in the Rishonim and even in the Gemara, Ki b'yoyim hazeh yachaper aleichem l'tayr eschem ekol chatoseichem lefnei Hashem titahoru. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah darshans, lefnei Hashem titahoru. That is only aveirus shebenodam lamokim, not aveirus shebenodam lachaveiroi. Pshuto shel mikro, l'tayr eschem ekol chatoseichem lefnei Hashem. And then the pasuk says, titahoru, achieve tahara. But the pasuk deals with two concepts, kapora and tahara. They're not the same. Teshuvah does two things. Teshuvah atones and Teshuvah purifies. Teshuvah is mechaper and Teshuvah is metaher. Shnei ponim b'teshuvah keneged shnei ponim b'chet. When a person is over an aveira, achet mechayev v'achet metamei. There's a price tag up in Shamayim. Every aveira has a price. What's the price? Part of it is well known. Part of it is confidential. Chayv alavin, Malchus. And then we have Dalad Mises Bezdin. But b'dei Shamayim, it is partially confidential. We have Koras Mises Bezdin, but we don't know exactly an alav she'em by Koras how to define Misa b'dei Shamayim or Oynish b'dei Shamayim. Bitul mitzvah say there is no Oynish in Bezdin. But every mitzvah, every Aveira has a price tag. One of the Yud Gimel Ikra Amino. שהקודש ברוך הוא גוימל טוב לשומרי מצוויסוב ומניש לאויברי מצוויסוב. חטא מחייב, אבל החטא גם מטמא. And the Nevi'im don't speak much about the punishment that comes with Averis. They speak about Zohamas HaChet. and tumas hachet. כנגד שני פונים בחטא, שני פונים בתשובה. תשובה is mechaper על החיוב שבחטא, תשובה is מתאר מטומאת החטא. And the Pasuk touches upon both עניונים. כי ביום הזה יכפר עליכם, לתאר אתכם מכל חטאיכם. And what is it primarily that a Kodesh Baruch Hu demands? Titaharu. Kapora, it's up to you. If you're crazy and you don't want to do tshuva and you're going to pay the price, okay. What a Kodesh Baruch Hu really wants from us is tahara. He wants kirvas alikim. He wants to love us and he wants us to love him. So the Pasuk says, Titaharu. That would mean kapora as well. But the focus is on tahara. And there's a difference between kapora and tahara. There are things that are ma'akev kapora. The Rambam in Perek Aleph al Hilchos Teshuvah talks about kapora. Vidui ma'akev kapora. You can't have kapora without vidui. You could achieve tahara without vidui. Nothing is ma'akev tahara. And tahara is tolui kol kuloi b'tahara saleiv. If you deeply regret what you did, and you take upon yourself never to do it again, you're kodesh, you're tahor. You still have debt to pay until you achieve kapora. But nothing is ma'akev tahara. And therefore, המקדש עשו אישו על מנת שאני צדיק ונמצא ראש הגמור, חוששן לקדושיו. The Edom say, he didn't say vidui. He still could be a tzadik gomer. He has debt to pay. He did not achieve kapora. But maybe he did achieve tahara. And therefore he's a tzadik gomer. And that's a Gemara in Yevomis. Third source. Second page. Chayav al makosoi. The Gemara says a mamzer is chayav in kibudav. Amai. Kori ken v'nosi ba'amcho lo'itoa ba'oisa masa amcho. A mamzer only could come to be if his father was a Rasha. Bo alo ervo. Otherwise the child wouldn't be a mamzer. So why is he chayav in kibudav? If his father is a Rasha, enei oisa masa amcha. The Omer of Pinchas b'shmei derev papa ba'oisa Teshuvah. Hochen ama kishosa Teshuvah. And then the Gemara asks, v'hai bar Teshuvah hu? V'utanan shemem b'menasya oimer. Mo'uvis lo yochal etkon habolo eva v'hoiled memena mamza. So we can do Teshuvah. Hashta miya oisa masa. Right here and now, he did Teshuvah. He's a tzaddik. But Reb Shimon ben Menashe says, Mo'uvis lo yochal itkon, bo al erva v'hoiled mamzer. He still is a tzaddik. And you're chayav in kibedav. He cannot achieve kapora. But everybody could achieve tahara. And there is no ma'akav in tahara. Rabbi Rosa ben Azariah says there are daled chalukei kapora. There are no chalukei tahara. To achieve kapora, sometimes you need Yom Kippur. Sometimes you need Yisurim. If you are Mechal Hashem Shemayim, it is only death that will atone you. But that is all about kapora. Nothing is ma'akev tahara. And tahara is tolui kol kuloi b'tahara saleiv. If you did Teshuvah Shleima and you have deep and sincere regret, and you're going to try to be better, harei zeh tzaddik gomer. So many Achronim deal with a fascinating question. The Gemara says, "Amakadosh yeshu ishu al menash shani tzaddik v'nimtza rosh hagomer shem heret teshuvah beliboi." However, there's a Gemara in Brochus. Lamed Daled Omed Weiss. Omer Rav Chia bar Abba Omer Rabbi Yochanan. כל הנביאים כולם לא נסנבו אלו לבעלי תשובה, אבל צדיקים גמורים, עין לא יעשו אלוקים זה לא שכר. Rabbi Yochanan says, all the magnificent sachar that we find in Divrei Nevi'im is for Baalei Teshuvah. But at Tzaddik Gomer, we cannot even imagine his reward. Ayin lo yiraso Elokim zu lo sechel. Upliga de Rabbi Avuhu. Rabbi Avuhu says, "B'mokim sheBaalei Teshuvah oimdem, ein tzadikim gemurim yicholim lamod." So there's a machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Avuhu, who is on a higher level, tzadikim gemurim or Baalei Teshuvah. Rabbi Avuhu says Baalei Teshuvah are on the highest level. ובמוקם שבעלי תשובה עומדים, אין צדיקים גמורים יכולים לעמוד. Rabbi Yochanan says no. Baalei Teshuvah are great, but a tzaddik gomer that never sinned, that never transgressed, is even higher. Tzadikim gemurim, ayin lo raso Elokim ze lo sechel. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, a tzaddik gomer is greater than a Baalei Teshuvah. So why a Mekadosh says wishu al manasha nitzad gomer venim tzarosha gomer choishesh nela kadushav shem eheret shiva beliboy? He's still not a tzaddik gomer. Interesting question. Because halacha ke Rabbi Yochanan b'kol hashas, and the halacha is always in accordance to Rabbi Yochanan if he has a machlekes with any other. So if there's a machlekes of Rabbi Avuhu and Rabbi Yochanan who's on a higher level, Rabbi Yochanan says tzaddik gomer is on a higher level, so why chosh nela kadushav? Emes v'yamuno. It's a sefer Vertlach. Vertlach from Reb Mendele Makotsk. I don't recall whether I shared with you a Kotzk or last week about Kiyas Shofar. Harayza Mekadeshes. Rak chosen HaMekadosh ki mochen eloi kol avenoisa v'lechein maspek lo yirish al tshuva belvad ach od ha'machal ein maspek lo yitshuva and it's tzorach tshuva ka'alacha. So the Kotzk Rebbe says, Choishesh and Kadushav is only a chosen because mochen eloi kol avenoisa. This is only a vertel. It's a total mistake. HaMekadosh esu isho al menas shani tzadik. Moichel lakol avanoisev is chosen b'yoim chuposoi. In the days of Chazal, they always waited 12 months between Kedushin and Nisuyin. That's everywhere in Shas. So in our day and age, a chosen is mekadosh tachas chuposoi. That wasn't the minig in the days of Chazal. There was Yud Beis Chodesh between Eresin and Nisuyin. HaMekadosh esuishu is Kedushin. Moichel lekol avanoisav is 12 months later, is B'shas Nisuin. So this doesn't stick. So, what's the answer on this kasha? Doesn't demand an answer because the entire kasha is a mistake. In the Mishnah, it doesn't say HaMekadosh esuishu al menas shani tzaddik gomer. No. HaMekadosh esuishu al menas shani tzaddik v'nimtza rosh gomer choishesh shani kadushav. If he would say al menas shani tzaddik gomer, ein choishesh shani kadushav according to Rabbi Yochanan, because tzadikim gemurim ayin lo yirasu Elokim ze lo sechel. Many achronim quote as if it is written al menas shani tzaddik gomer, but look again. Kedushin memtes al menas shani tzaddik. Everybody agrees that about Teshuvah is greater than a tzaddik, not greater than a tzaddik gomer. So kushin mi'ikora leisa. So this is all about Teshuvah and the privilege of doing Teshuvah. So just 2 days ago was Rosh Hashanah. I don't remember whether I shared this with you, because I give so many shiurim these days, I really don't remember what I say where. But the Shlo speaks about kavonas atkiyas. What do you need to bear in mind by tkiyas shofar? And it is so important to do Teshuvah by Tkiyah Shofar. So the Shloah Kodesh says, Tashrat, Tkiyah, Shavorim, Trua, Tkiyah. What does it symbolize, this Seder? The Shloah says, that's the story of the human condition. It's the story of each and every one of us. Tkiyah conveys simcha. Shavorim Trua convey a broken heart. We know that from Parshas Baloischof on the Mitzvah of Chatzoitzes. Uv'yom simchaschem u'v'moyadechem u'v'rosh chodshechem u'tekatem b'chatzoitzos. That's the Tkiyah, b'yom simchaschem. V'hoyo kisavoy melchamo al artzachem v'hare oisem. So you blow the Trua in times of war, when you're worried, you're brokenhearted. Tragedy is at the door. Tkiyah conveys simcha. So the Shloah says, your life starts with a Tkiyah. Every Jewish child, when he is born, is kodesh v'tohor. Zera kodesh machzavtoi. He goes to cheder. Tinoike shel beis rabba mishaloi tam utam chet. And at some stage, you begin to fail and you begin to fall. And you start to accumulate avedas. The Rambam speaks about chorayei hanefesh. And the Rambam writes, just like there are chorayei aguf, there are physical ailments, there is spiritual illness as well. And a Bal Aveira is a choilo. And that is why in the Torah and in Nevi'im v'Ksuvim, erpo mushuvosam, a Bal Aveira needs a refuah. When a man is ill, he's in pain, he's suffering, he groans. And that is the shavorim, genucha gonach. You're groaning because you're sick. Spiritually, not physically. And then comes the truah, yeluli yolol. And that is when a person dies. And everybody is crying and sobbing. And that is if you sunk and you are over and chorus and misa b'dei shamayim. So you start off with a tkiyah. At some stage, you're sick, and that is the truah, the shavorim. Truah is if you sunk even deeper. And then comes the tkiyah. And the tkiyah teaches us there was always hope. And you could always come back. And that is the koyach of Teshuvah. And the Rambam writes, Chota kol yomav. And the last day he did Teshuvah. Teshuvah so miskabeles. So the tkiyah that comes after the Shvorim Teshuvah comes to teach us, never lose hope. If you failed, and as much as you failed, and chas v'sholim you are over in the most terrible of avedas, there's always a way back. And I add on to the shlo. After all the tashratim and all the tashatim and all the taratim, after 99 koilos comes the tkiyah gedoylo. And what does the tkiyah gedoylo convey? B'mokim sheba le'tshuva oimdim, ein tzadikim gemurim yicholim la'amod. So the Rambam paskins in accordance to Rabbi Vuhu. And the Rambam does paskin in Perek Zayim Ilchas Teshuvah, b'mokim sheba le'tshuva oimdim, ein tzadikim gemurim yicholim la'amod. Not even a tzadik gomer. And that is the tkiyah gedoylo. We never start off with the tkiyah gedoyla. We finish with the tkiyah gedoyla, which comes to say, Teshuvah gemura tops it all. And you could fix a lifetime with Teshuvah gemura. B'mokim sheba le'teshuvah oimdim, ein tzadikim gemurim yicholim la'amod. The Bechor Wasserman brings a kasha in the name of the Chofetz Chaim. Rabbeinu Yonah writes in the very beginning of Sha'arei Teshuvah, Teshuvah is a gift. It is a gift. It goes against logic. That a person could, in retrospect, fix what he did wrong. How could that be? Nothing we do has an effect lemafreya. Everything a person does could only have an effect mikanu lahaba. Teshuvah is a gift. And it's actually a Yerushalmi Mesechet Makas. Shalu lechachma, choyta ma yehi olav. And Chachma responded, he has no hope. And nefesh achaitasi tomus. The same question was presented to Nevuah, and Nevuah said the same. Torah said the same. Shalu l'kodesh baruch hu, choyta ma yehi olav. Omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu yaseh teshuvah v'yichupar lo. Teshuvah is a gift. It goes against judgment. It goes against halacha. It goes against common sense. But that's the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us. And whatever you did, you could always do teshuvah. And if you do teshuvah shalema, you could reach heights that were totally unachievable before. And that is the Tkiya Gedolah. So the Chofetz Chaim asked, the Gemara says, Sof Perek Kama de Kedushin. When a person did mitzvahs, Kol Yemei Chayav, and then he's Toya ala Rishonos, Chaz v'Sholem, everything is wiped out, and he gets no sachar. So the same rule applies to charota and mitzvahs and to charota and averos. So what's the chesed of teshuvah if the same goes the other way around? You did mitzvahs, and then you became a rasha. You get no reward. So wouldn't it be the same if you did averos and then you regret it? So what is the chesed of teshuvah? So Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman quotes one teretz and another teretz. Lani is daiti. I don't understand the kasha at all. You are a law-abiding citizen. You follow the rules, you pay your taxes, you don't rob, you don't steal. Do you deserve a reward because I didn't hurt anybody? I didn't steal from the government? You're a decent citizen. You don't need to be compensated for being a decent citizen. But if you break the rules and you're a criminal, you're going to be punished. It's the same b'din hashamayim. Person follows the rules. He's makayim all the mitzvahs. Why do you think you deserve a reward? These are the rules. These are the rules. You follow the rules, you don't deserve any reward. A law-abiding citizen, I'm a decent person, I pay my taxes, I didn't steal, I didn't rob, I didn't kill anyone. Do you need to get paid and rewarded for following the rules? So why would a person think he deserves sachar for kiyum mitzvahs? Schar mitzvahs kol kuloi chesed. But if you break the rules, you are to be punished. And that is the chesed of teshuvah. Schar mitzvahs kol kuloi chesed. You deserve nothing. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give you anyway. If you regret every mitzvah you did, why do you deserve matonas? Why do you deserve gifts? Well, if you're over Avera, you deserve to be punished. And teshuvah is a chesed, is a gift. So these are the days. We just saw, everybody agrees teshuvah is a mitzvah. But teshuvah and Yom Kippur is a special mitzvah. And Rabbeinu Yonah writes, Ki b'yom hazeh achaper alechem l'tayreschem akol chatesechem lefnei Hashem titaharu. And this is a mitzvah to do teshuvah on Yom Kippur. The Rambam writes the same in Perek Gimel. Because these days are designated for teshuvah, and Chazal darshan, Dirshu Hashem behimatzo kra'uhu b'yoisei korol, aseres hayomim shemen Rosh Hashanah liyom HaKippurim. לפיכך חייבים כל ישראל לעשות תשובה ביום הכיפורים. So Yom Kippur is a day more than any other day of the year in which you need to do Teshuvah. Everybody remembers the Mama Chazal. Shlosh Sforim neftochim b'Rosh Hashanah. Tzadikim gemurim nechtav v'nechayim. Rishonim gemurim v'namisa. Beinerim tluyim v'yoimdim. The Rambam writes, Beinerim tluyim v'yoimdim till when? Till Yom Kippur. If they did Teshuvah, they become tzadikim. They didn't do Teshuvah, nechtomim v'namisa. And the Lechem Mishnah asks, they didn't do Teshuvah, but they're still Beinerim. So why do they deserve to be destroyed? They're Beinerim and they didn't do Teshuvah. The Lechem Mishnah says, if you didn't do Teshuvah, in a sense you made Teshuvah, you are no longer a Beinoni. That in itself is an Aveira. And you are no longer a Beinoni, but a Rasha. How important it is to take advantage of these magnificent days of Aseres Yemei Teshuvah, and especially Yom Kippur, to come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to do Teshuvah. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes close to us. We should be able to come close to Him. You need to take advantage. Kra'uhu b'hi yoisoi korov. HaKadosh Baruch Hu kiviyachal leaves the angels of above. He makes Himself available. We should take advantage and turn back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So you need to do Teshuvah. Rabbeinu Yonah in Sha'ar Teshuvah, the beginning of the Sefer brings a mashal. There's a jail, and there's the warden that makes the rounds every day in the morning just to check whether everything is okay. One day he comes to a cell, and he sees that the inmates, the prisoners, dug a tunnel, and all of them escaped, except one Shlomiel, one Shlomazel that's sitting there like a golem, and all his friends ran out of the tunnel to safety, to freedom. So the warden says, idiot, why didn't you escape together with your friends? He takes a big stick and hits him on the head. So Rabbeinu Yonah says, if you don't do Teshuvah, you're like that idiot, and you deserve a punishment. And when I learned this mashal, I wondered, why does he deserve to be punished? Or the others deserve to be punished, the ones that dug the tunnel and they ran away. He is the good boy. He could escape and he didn't, so why does he deserve to be punished? So the way I would formulate this mashal, I would say it differently. It's the king's birthday. It's the day of the king's coronation. This is the day he was made king. And he gives a pardon to all the prisoners, every prisoner that is willing to sign a letter, begging for leniency, begging for forgiveness, and he promises from now on to keep the law, will be freed. All the others signed the letter. One action receives to sign the letter. He deserves to be punished. But does the mashal of Rabbeinu Yonah make sense? The ones that ran away, they're okay. And because he's sitting in a cell, he deserves to be punished. But that's Rabbeinu Yonah. I think I understand Rabbeinu Yonah. And his mashal is wonderful, gewaldig. One Shlomazel, sitting in a cell. He didn't take advantage. He didn't leave. Obviously, you like it here. Obviously, you feel at home. If you would feel this as punishment, you would try to escape like every sensible person. You didn't escape. We're trying to understand why. So obviously, you don't feel at prison at all. You feel at home here. You like it. It's good. It's not supposed to be good. We thought this is punishment. And if you like it so much, probably we need to take you to another section and you're going to feel that you're in prison. Some of us feel so comfortable with the Yetzer Hara. It's not bad. We don't identify the Yetzer Hara as an enemy. We think he's our best friend. You know, we feel comfortable with the Yetzer Hara. If that is the case, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to teach you who your Yetzer Hara is. You feel too comfortable here. So the Gemara says in Brachas Daf Hey, La'olam yargiz odam yetzer toiv al yetzer hara. Nitzchoi mutav, loi nitzchoi. Yasik b'toira. If Torah doesn't help you, kol kriya shema. If Krishma doesn't help you, ask ala yoimemisa. And the Gemara doesn't say, if yoimemisa doesn't help, what then? Obviously, there's no such a thing. Torah, Krishma, yoimemisa must have an effect. Well, the fact is it doesn't. Some of us learn Torah all day. We yeshiva bochum, we're kollel guys. We learn say the Rishon, say the Sheni, say the Shlishi, and we still struggle with the Yetzer Hara. How about Kriya Shema? We have a mitzvah to recite Kriya Shema Boikavera, B'shach B'chov Kamecho. We do it 4 times a day, not only 2 times a day. We say Shema Yisrael before Psukei de Zimra, and we say Shema Yisrael Krishma Shalamito. Does it have an effect? Not really. Yaskala Yoimemisa. If you live in Yerushalayim, every 15 minutes there's another car going around town with a loudspeaker announcing a Lavaya. I know a person that just couldn't bear it and he left Yerushalayim. He says, it makes me sick every 10 minutes, another Lavaya. Poor guy. He left Yerushalayim. And we know some Chevra Kedisha people that bury the dead, Meboiker Aderev. Are they all Tzadikim Gemurim? So how come Yasik B'Torah, Yikol Kiyashema, Yaskal Memisa, and it doesn't work? The answer is very simple. Let's go over this Ma'ameh Chazal again. La'olam yargiz odam yetzer toiv al yetzer hara. Rashi writes, Yasa imoy melchama. Torah, Krishma, Yoimemisa are weapons. They are the tanks and the artillery and the missiles and the bombs. But no army ever won a war without fighting that war. You could have the best weapons in the world, but if you don't go out to wage battle, how do you expect to win? Yasa imoy melchama. And many of us have no intention of fighting the Yetzer Hara. He's our best friend. You know, we like him. He doesn't like us. But we think he does. And if you don't wage war, if you don't identify your enemy, never expect to win. You cannot win without fighting. So that only guy that didn't escape, obviously you feel comfortable here. And you want to stay here. This is not a hotel, our dear friend. You're not supposed to feel comfortable. And if you feel too comfortable here, obviously you have it too good. And that is what Rabbeinu Yonah warns us. Don't feel comfortable. Because then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will teach you. You're not supposed to feel comfortable with the Yetzer Hara. And it could be much worse. Take advantage. Himolet al nafshecho, writes Rabbeinu Yonah. Himolet al nafshecho. Try to escape. Escape from whom? Escape from your Yetzer Hara. Escape from his trap. So this is the time, Aseret Yemei Teshuvah and Yom Kippur, in which each and every one has to understand why we're here, what's our duty, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu bring us to this world, to fight the Yetzer Hara, to do Teshuvah, and to come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and to come back to Torah and come back to Mitzvahs. Good Geben Shiur to all of you, and this coming year should be a Shnas Yeshua, and each and every one of our precious Talmidim should have a wonderful year and a Groisa Aliyah. Come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, grow in Torah, grow in Yerushalayim, and we all daven. And we all hope that this coming year will be a Shnas Simcha, a Shnas Oira. It should be a Shnas Geula, v'Yeshua b'mheira v'yomeinu. Amen.